All right. Hey, I wanted to clear up some conversation that I had with a couple of you guys this past week, and want to make sure I got clear. Don't want anybody to be confused. Okay. Uh, Sometimes I assume that everybody understands what comes out of my mouth, and anyways, I want to clear this up. So, efficiency. When we're talking about efficiency, there's a couple of ways to talk about efficiency. One is an overall efficiency. Okay. And that's what we're going to get in the profit pricer. These are our targets for efficiency in the profit pricer. By setting up our profit pricer correctly, we can we can set our pricing to be at 40% efficiency. So when we hit 40% efficiency, in other words, on the plumbing side, our target should be to hit 40% efficiency. And that would should be for everybody. Okay. And if you're less than 40% efficiency, you're doing some things wrong. And some of it may be clear here in a little bit after I go to the next topic. But anyways, these are your targets for 40% efficiency. That's basically 3.2 hours a day. That's 40% efficiency. And the reason it's at 40%, that means that 60% of the time you're inefficient. Okay? And that happens. That just happens to happen. It's either closure rate. If you're 100% closure rate, okay, you'll have a much higher efficiency. But because we don't close 100% of the calls, which would be nice if we did close 100% of the calls, at and if we're discounting to get a call, that's lower in efficiency also because you're lowering that price, which means you're basically taking away the hours you needed to sell and you squeezed it down to a lower price to get a job. That's hurting your efficiency. But sometimes it makes sense to do it because if you're doing nothing, it's better than nothing. Okay? To discount a job. And I'm not opposed to discounting jobs. I've discounted jobs my whole life. Uh, just because mainly because this is something that Frank Blau told me. He says, once you hit your break even of 40% efficient, hell, discount all you want. Because the rest of that is all gravy. All that money, all that overhead money in that sold hour becomes all profit. So after you hit your efficiency, yeah, start understanding you can discount and all of that money becomes profit. So plumbing side, I always say that 40% efficiency is where the plumbing department needs to be. And that's 3.2 hours a day. Now understand this. That's 3.2 hours in 5 days. Okay? So when you're adding that up, that's 16 hours a week is what you're looking for. This is a day, sold day expectation of 3.2. Okay, so some days you may get a 0, some days you may get a 7. Okay, and if you got a 7, then you're ahead of the game because 6.4 is what you're looking for. So this is the overall piece of the efficiency inside your profit pricer to gain your selling price. It's for that reason, okay, that I'm bringing this video to you because efficiency in the efficiency plan is the same thing, okay? And I may have added some content here to a couple of you about task time. How do you build your tasks time? And so I'm going to change the screen up. Actually, I'm just going to move the screen up to where this one is. I don't have to change too much. Okay. So identify the productive time for each task. Okay, so for everything that we sell, that's a task. So we need to identify the production time of each task. Now I'm jumping now to the micro part of task time. Okay, this profit pricer is the entire picture of task time. or efficiency. Task time gives us our efficiency, because the task time is basically your efficient is tied into the efficiency, because you're looking for so many sold hours. If you sell 8 hours in a day, that's 100% efficient. If you sell 3.2 hours in a day, that's 40% efficient. Okay, so I want to make sure that you're not getting the profit pricer mixed up with a pricing strategy out in the field. Bottom line is you still have to produce 3.2 hours in the field every day to get that 40% efficiency overall. Okay, so this is a process that I used in my company, and I've taught it to several companies along the way. So identify your productive time in each task. And this is what's probably got a lot of you are wrapped around the axle. Okay? The task time definition, the trip charge. It's important to state a trip charge, dispatch fee in the upfront of the phone call. Why? It's important to make sure the customer values the service. So if a customer hasn't agreed to get money, to spend money for you to come out, they have no risk. They have no skin in the game. So charging a trip charge or dispatch fee, whatever you want to call it, is good business practice, because you're finding the customers that are real, not the tire kickers, not the folks that'll screw you. Okay? So it's important that you have a trip charge to go out to a job. If you go out and you start explaining to the customer, well, if I do the work, I'll drop the trip charge. Don't go down that slippery slope. It's a loser's game. Okay? Don't drop the trip charge. The trip charge is there. That trip charge, okay, has some billable hours in it. So whatever your selling price is, if your selling price is $400 an hour and you have a $40 trip charge, you got 10% of an hour there. And that's all part of the whole profit price piece, okay, where that's just another piece of the sold hours that we get. So as a whole, we're looking for 3.2 hours in a day. And this is on the plumbing side. That is if you're looking for that on the plumbing side. Depends on your efficiency. What you want it to be is what it needs to be. I'm using 40% because that happened to be a number that I used in my business. I used 40% for plumbing, and I used 37.5% for the HVAC business. And why the difference is because HVAC calls can turn into a lead, so we're forfeiting all of the service sale to give to a salesperson. So our efficiency is a lot less. Okay? Now, it doesn't have to be. And there's some things I can help you with to raise that efficiency as well. And I'll just show you that. If you're not cleaning systems on a regular basis on every call, you're losing a shitload of money. Okay? Because there's more money in cleaning a system than there is in replacing a system. Say that again, because that's going to shock the hell out of you. There's more money in cleaning a system than there is in replacing a system. And I'll share that little tutorial with you guys when you ask for it. Anyways, you're just going to have to treat it as gospel right now, because it is. All right? So anyways, let's go through this. So this is a trip charge fee. It's important to state trip charge, dispatch fees, whatever you guys want to call it, up front on the phone with the customer. Why? It's important to make sure the customer values the service. You're not looking for tire kickers. I want somebody that's got skin in the game, who's going to spend some money, and they know it up front. Okay? We do nothing for free. This is not included in the task times below. It is a separate charge. It's actually a task in itself. Okay? If you want to look at it like that. It's a task in itself. So then, task times. This is how we clock the task times. Times should be included. Times you should should be included into each individual task. Shit, I could have wrote that differently. Step one, all right? It's the prepare step. So you've arrived at the customer's house, okay? And now we're going through the service system from our technician's brain here. So you're at the customer's house, turn off the truck and review the 6 steps. It's going to take the guy 6 minutes. We want to get his head straight. I don't want him pulling up in the driveway, opening the door and rushing into the house. I want him to take 3 minutes to exhale, inhale, and review steps. Okay? Pretty soon it just becomes natural, but with the new guys, even the old guys, because they forget to, they say, well, hell, I can bypass that. You know what? Take the time and put yourself in the right frame of mind. Okay? Take 3 minutes and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. All right? So, prepare step. You're at the customer's house, turn off the truck and review the 6 steps. That's what I want you to do. Second step, you greet the customer. That's generally going to take about 5 minutes because if you greet the customer, you're going to show them the agenda. This is what we're going to do today. And you're showing them the 6 steps of the agenda, right? And then from there, you ask to see in the greet step, you ask to see, can you show me where the main problem is? So by showing them the agenda card and then asking for permission, can you show me where the problem is? Have them take you to the initial problem first, the reason they called. That's still in step 2. Okay? You're going over the agenda, and I didn't type it in here. You're going over the agenda, but you're asking them to show you where the problem is. You want to keep this customer with you. Plus, the initial problem is going to be easier for them to take you to than the explore step, but I'll explain that next. So you're going to go take a look at what the issue is. It's not going to take you more than 1 minute to probably figure out what the hell's going on. Okay? And so that's the greet step. And then you're going to transition into the explore step. Okay? So this is critical. The explore step is, I'm putting this down here as 3 minutes. Okay? Now, there's a transition phase here to go from greet to explore. And I'll say this, 50 to 60% of the customers will not explore with you right away, but they will explore. I'll show you how to bring them back into the explore step because that customer needs to be involved in the explore step. The explore step is where all the money is found. That's where all the tasks are found that we're gonna help the customer with. Okay? So explore step. Take a minute, take a look at the immediate issue. And then you do a transition. Transition into exploring the whole system with the customer at your side. That's going to be another 3 to 6 minutes. And there's a whole process to get that customer to transition to the whole house. Okay? To everything. And that's going to take another 3 to 6 minutes. All right? And I can walk you through how to bring them in 100% of the time, but I'm not going to do that right here because I don't want to muddy the water. But yes, there's a way to bring the customer to the explore step 100% of the time. Okay? But it's still going to take you 3 minutes to take a look at the immediate issue and then transition to the explore step. Whether the customer wants to go or doesn't want to go, you're still going to do an explore step. But you're going to do it with questions. If you're on the plumbing side, you say, Mr. Jones, do you know where your main water shutoff is? Say, great. Can you show me? That should be the question you ask. And if the customer says, well, I can't do that right now, I've got these kids, I said, no problem, Mr. Jones. If I notice anything, what would you like for me to do? Well, yes, show me. Okay. So you're either going to go there by themselves or they're going to go there with you. Doesn't matter because we'll pull them back in later on if they say, I've got more important things to do than to explore with you right now. Okay? So you transition and explore step, you go and you find out where the main water shutoff is. Okay? And you look around while you're there, because this is your money step, guys, this explore step. is where you will create the biggest value for the customer and for the company and for yourself. Okay? Because you're going to be selling more hours by exploring, because you're going to be finding other things. You're going to be noticing. I don't want to use the word finding. You're going to be noticing things. Okay? So you go and you turn the faucet valve off. Oh, the faucet's a little tough. Oh, I'll be darned. Okay? You write that down. If the customer's not with you, you write it down. If the customer's with you, you still write it down. Okay? Because that's going to be something that you're going to present to. I noticed that when it comes to present, I noticed that the valve was tight. Would you like for me to loosen that up? Okay? That's all you got to do. And then you look around and you say, hey, if you're there by yourself, you look around, go over to the water heater. It's a natural place to go to. Okay? And take a look at everything. If you see water stains, you see any drips, you see any corrosion, you see self-tapping valves with corrosion on it, whatever you see, write it down. Okay? Because these are the things you're going to present to the customer that did not explore with you. Now, if the customer is exploring with you, you're going to do the same thing, write it down, but you're going to point to it and say, oh, how long has it been like that? I've never noticed it. Okay, no problem. You write it down. All these things are other things that you can do while you're at Mrs. Jones, and now you'll be able to do 5 things instead of the one thing you were called out to do. Okay? And you always ask these questions. Look, the key pieces that I found on the plumbing side, I'm not an electrician, and I can spell HVAC. Okay? But for the plumbing side, I'm looking for corrosion on piping. And I'm going to point to it. I'm going to say, how long could it like that? All you're saying. How long's it been like? Oh, I never noticed it before. Okay. If you're going to write down corroded valve, you're not going to go into, hey, we can fix this. We can do this too while we're here. No, that's fucking selling. Don't do that. You just want to document your findings. And you want to go around with a pad and write everything that you see. Or if Mrs. Jones is there, yes, point it out. Oh, how long has that been like that? Ask that question every time. We never make statements in this explore step. If you make a statement, you're preaching. Nobody likes to be preached to. If you're asking a question, you're interacting and you're getting their answer. So now you've got their belief in what's going on. How long has it been like that? I've never noticed it. That bin's got water dripping on it too. How long's that been like? I didn't know. Hot water, Mr. Jones? Only when my daughter's in the shower. Oh, I totally get that. They can take up a lot of time, can't they? So you're writing it down. She said, when my daughter runs out. Well, my daughter's in there, we'll run out. So it's not a problem right now. It's an inconvenience they have right now. And we're trying to fix those inconveniences for them. And we go over and we take a look. You see anything corroded? Oh, how long's that been like that? Did you notice that? And that watermark, where do you think that water is coming from? Okay. These are the things we want to do in an explore step, guys, is to build that laundry list of tasks. Okay? It's critical for you to maximize every call. It seriously is. It's critical. And actually, if we go in and we do one thing for a customer and we leave, that customer does not see value. They paid for something they needed, but they didn't pay for the things that they never knew about. So they're saying, yeah, well, I have I'm here. I might as well be efficient. I won't have to pay a trip charge again. In their head is what's going on. Okay? And you'll be able to sell a laundry list of things. In fact, I had a technician in my business that he could stay there all day. And it kind of pissed the dispatchers off because they had 3 calls for him. But his pride and joy was to piss the dispatchers off. And you might find this odd, but he was a relative of mine, my brother. So we're a little bit the same. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm getting down the wrong path here. So anyways, you got transition to explore, entire system, side by side. It's going to take 3 to 6 minutes to do the explore step. Okay. Present step. It's going to take you about 3 minutes to do a present after writing up everything you found. And if you just found one thing, it'll be 3 minutes. If it's a dozen things, it may be more than 3 minutes. But I'm going on the conservative side of things. It's going to take 3 minutes. Okay. Execute step. Where the task time comes in. Okay. So I don't know what that task time is right now. So I got question marks up here. But each execution step of your task time is going to have time related to it. Now that is your productive time. Okay. Again, this is your one-time productive time. This 22 to 25 minutes. Okay. Because you're going to wrap up here also. I missed a step. I apologize. We're going to wrap up, and that's going to take about 5 minutes to wrap up. That means collect the money, make sure everything's all right, show Mr. Jones how everything's working, and all that. So you're going to have 22 to 25 minutes is what I've found from the time we prepare all the way to the time we're explaining everything that we did at the job. So it's going to take about 22 to 25 minutes, and that time needs to be built on every job. Okay? So whatever that is, if you have a task in there, you need to build that in. Now we had a book where each component had this 25, 22 minutes in it. And I'm just going to use 25 minutes because I believe that's what we used. We got an extra 25 minutes built into the individual task. If it was a multiple task column, okay, it was built into that. It wasn't built into the multiple task column. I always quoted, though, when I built the price, my first task had the 20 minutes in it. So they used the first column on that one, and the other cost, let's just say this was a kitchen sink, they would use the column that had the 25 minutes in it. Okay? The second thing that they presented did not have the 25 minutes in it. It had the task time in it, but I understand it didn't have all this stuff that I'm talking about here. Didn't have the prepare step, the greet step, the present step. That just happens one time. I can have 10 tasks, but I'm not going to have that 10 times in there. I'm just going to have that in there one time. Okay? Because remember, I have to hit an annual or a daily sold hour budget here. Okay, my techs have to do the daily sold out. This is how you get there. This is how you get your efficiency up to get to the efficiency you need to be. Okay? So I want to make sure that was clear with everybody. I hope it is. And please write down your questions and ask me. Let's have a conversation. I don't want you guessing. I know that Frank, I talked to you yesterday, and then Greg called me and he had questions about it, and I think there was some confusion. So I want to make sure that everybody is on the same page here. All right. But yes, I don't have a book that has a standard rate. You could call it a standard rate. It was the price was the initial. Okay, we considered it the initial task. And then everything else was the secondary tasks. And that secondary task did not have that 22 to 25 minutes in it. Because I've already got that in the initial task I was out there. And I always put it on the initial task because rarely have I found that the customer called us for one issue but never fixed that issue. They fixed all the other ones. That never happened. So that initial issue has that task time that we have to cover. Okay? Because some of these tasks don't take very long. And when you're given options on that, if you're just looking, especially if you're not exploring. If you're not exploring, you're screwed. Because you're going in there and you're pointing to something and you're giving them a price on that one thing without showing them the rest of the problems they have in the house. Or getting them involved in the house so that you've built trust. You haven't built any trust if you have not explored with that customer. And if you haven't built that trust, and that's what the explore step is about doing something together and having a conversation together that builds trust. Yes, along the way, we're going to find other stuff and we'll point it out. But the whole key of the explore step is to build the trust with that customer. Okay? And always, always, always let the customer make the statements. Never, ever, ever make a statement when you're doing an explore step with the customer. The only thing that comes out of your mouth has to end in a question mark so that the customer can respond to it. That's how you have a dialogue. If you're doing it with a period, you're making statements. Nobody wants to be preached to. So stop making statements, start asking questions. All right? And that gets the customer's involvement on this. All right. Now, at the same time, during that, I'll cut that off here. I'm going to do an addendum to this. That customer that doesn't go down to the main water shutoff for you. Okay? And for plumbing, that would be the main water shutoff. For the heating and cooling, that'd be the furnace or air conditioner, whatever the hell it is. Electrical, that'd be the, what the hell is that? Breaker panel. Okay? So you have to have this taught to your techs where there's steps they need to go first. How we're going to start this explore with the customer so that the customer, next time the guy comes out, he's going to take me to the same place if it's the same issue or if it's it's the same, let's say, trade. Okay, they're going to take you to the same place. Main water, the furnace, or maybe it's the thermostat you go to first for your HVAC guys, and then the electrical panel for the electricians. Okay, so you always want to go there with the customer first. Okay, that is critical. They have to do it. Now, if they say, "Hey, I can't do this. I got these kids here. I got to get my hands around it." No problem. Ask this question: if I notice anything, what would you like for me to do? Say, well, yeah, let me know. So you always bring the customer along with you because you're asking questions. Ms. Jones, you mentioned you wanted me to notify you if I noticed something. I did notice something. Do you got a minute? They're more likely to come down now after you came back upstairs or went outside or whatever you had to do to say, Ms. Jones, I noticed something. Do you have a moment? They always have a moment. Nobody's ever told us, no, I trust you. Just go ahead and do it. It just doesn't work that way, guys. So you have to bring them into the explore step because if you don't, you're not going to maximize this ticket. It's not going to get maximized. And that's where, when we maximize the ticket, that's when we hit these 40% efficiencies. Okay? And on the plumbing side and 37.5 on the HVAC side. And it's purposely done that way on the HVAC side because we want them to replace the system. Okay. At the same time, if you're sending green technicians out, there's going to be a lot higher because cleaning is a huge piece. And I'm going to get into cleaning of HVAC with you guys that are in HVAC, where you're going to be blown away at what money we're leaving on the table because we are not cleaning those systems every time. And it's because you don't know how to set the customer up for that. Okay. And that'd be a whole nother training piece. But I want to get through this because of the conversation I had back and forth with Greg yesterday and Frank. And I want to make sure that, okay, we're not going forward till we totally understand this piece because this is critical. We really have to understand what's going on. Okay? And I look forward to a phone call with your questions. And so we can nail this down. Because if we don't nail this down, it's going to be a goat rope. If you ever tried to rope a goat, it's hard to do. This would be hard to do. Okay? So look forward to hearing from you. And I'm available, by the way. I mean, shit. Baseball's a night game that I play, and that's all I do. And my golf game sucks, so I appreciate you guys taking it away from it. And we'll go from there. Bye, guys.